The next person you would hear after this would be a very, very exemplary HR leader. Highly skilled in facilitating organization accountability through culture, diversity, and inclusion. Change management also, alongside expertise in driving performance, leveraging strong cultural experience in human capital management and business leadership across diverse industries. Detailed-oriented, multilingual, strategic business professional with 20-plus years experience designing human resource initiatives, policies, talent sourcing initiatives, and competency-based recruitment programs. Change management resulting in employee engagement, organizational productivity, and exceptional service delivery. She is adept in delivering improvements in human resource operations while sustaining organizational service through quality leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, at the 10th anniversary of Ascentech services, please make very welcome, with an applaud, a very respectable Hilaria Okolo, Head HR Commart Limited. Come on, please put your hands together and make her feel very welcome as she speaks to us. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say a big thank you to Ascentech for the opportunity to be here to celebrate the 10th anniversary with you. And I wish you many more decades of success, both in Nigeria and all over the world. So this evening, I'm going to be talking about some home truths. Like the proverbial elephant, all the speakers have looked at it from different angles. And I'm also going to be talking about the trends shaping this new world of work. We heard from the keynote speaker, YF, about the evolution of HR and the fact that where we are now is a fourth wave. And that fourth wave, one of the characteristics is HR and the context. So we are going to look at the context because the context is very key. It is the context that determines how we should do business in these times, how we should act in these times. And I'm sure a lot of these things are things that we have all experienced in different ways, but it's important for us to know how exactly they impact our organizations and our employees. We know about the economic downturn. I mean, you don't have to go far. In Nigeria alone, there are a lot of things, pointing to the hardships, the fact that countries are in crisis, economies are in crisis. You go to Ghana, the latest term is about a haircut. And this is because government is faced with debt burdens. They don't know what to do about it. And they decided to give people haircuts. And that's about whatever investments you have in shares, in banks, in savings, except the government bills. They are going to deduct a percentage. So you have a saving and there is no guarantee that you are going to get 100% of your money. And that's the haircut. So all these things are taking place, and that is the context in which our businesses are operating in. That is the context in which our employees are working in. And what is the impact of this to our employees? We hear about, the culture of protest has been on the increase. Even in countries where you will never hear that, there was one protest or another. It is happening now. You look at UK and Europe, so many countries reporting protest upon protest. And the major reason for these protests have to do with economic hardships, have to do with one unfair policy or undesirable policy or another. Climate changes. We have extreme weather conditions in recent times. It's either very hot weather or very cold weather, and these things are impacting people at different levels. We have technology advances. It also comes with its own challenges. I mean, we all went through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all experienced how things that we thought, processes that we thought we had gotten right, everything can be thrown out of the window in a matter of seconds. The exodus of talent, the Japa, it is a reality. I mean, YF mentioned it. I remember recently I was having a conversation with a colleague, and he was like, all my friends have left the country. My HR mind was saying, this is probably a flight risk. So I wanted to lean in more to find out whether he was actually a flight risk too. So I said, what is your wife saying about it? He said she's putting pressure on me. She wants us to leave. I've told her she can go with my son, and I will stay here and work, but she doesn't want to. So I said, well, I'm in my mind, I didn't say that to him, but I knew that it was just a matter of time. But then the thing is that it means that he's still hanging in a balance. He still wants to be able to work. And if the organization can provide him with that right environment, then it is possible that we can tilt the balance to our advantage. But if the organization becomes hostile, then immediately it validates its reason to want to go away. So all these trends impact us in different ways, and we need to be aware that this is our new world. This is the new reality. These things will not go away. They will resurface in different forms and at different times. COVID-19 came. We are all happy. I think last week, the World Health declared that, that was finally over and done with. But that could be just a matter of months. We are in a time of crisis, and it's very important that the lessons we learned during those times, we don't do away with them. We need to keep rehearsing them. We need to keep fine-tuning them. Because even for those organizations where we have decided that, all the measures, all the situational measures that we took during the COVID times, we don't need them anymore. We've gone back to 100% on-site, and things are going on as we used to be pre-COVID. We should not make the mistake of losing the lessons. We should not make the mistake of putting away those measures and totally forgetting about them, because we will need them. Let me give you an example. So I work in a manufacturing company, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, there was the option of working from home. But being a manufacturing company, not everybody could work from home. And one of our product categories had to do with hygiene and hygiene chemicals. And sanitizers was one of our products, and it was in very high demand. The thing was just produce. Sales was not a problem. What did we do? The production team needed to produce. They cannot work from home. Business revenue targets needed to be met. So what we did was to come up with a campaign arrangement, on-site campaign arrangement, which meant that the production staff, we made some temporary sleeping places for them within the office premises. We got mattresses, we got fans, things that could make them comfortable to stay there. Apart from that, we were giving them 3 meals a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, all paid for by the organization. They were getting weekly camping allowances, in addition to their overtime, for staying long hours in the office. Apart from that, we also had to think about, okay, so after work, how are they entertaining themselves? Because they are staying there morning till evening. And we did that for 6 months, from February to August, before we decided to put a hard stop to the camping. And you know what? People wanted the camping to go on because they were being well looked after. And that tells you that, once we put the employee at the center, it unlocks their hidden joy. It unlocks the creativity. It unlocks ownership, and we are able to meet our business targets. Of course, did our employee costs increase? Definitely. It was a lot more. But then, did we get return on the investment? Yes. People didn't care. By the time they wake up, by 6, production have started. They could work, round the clock. They were not complaining. We were meeting our targets, and the employees were also fine. So in this new world of work, we need to put the employee first. And that is the new reality. These challenges will not go away. It will come back. It will surface in different times. And we need to keep the lessons. We thought that the camping arrangements were behind us. But what happened? This year, there was election. Because of the uncertainties, we didn't know which way it was going to sway, so the office had to, ask people to work from home for some time. But again, the production team, they could not work from home. So what did we do? We went back to camping arrangements for a week, and that was easy to do because we already had the template. And that is it. We need to, because these things will keep coming. This is the VUCA world. It will keep coming, and we need to ensure that we are prepared for these realities. Now, there are 4 important things that we need to be mindful of when we are looking at the realities of this new world. Combating the growing trend of mental health, really, really important. When what I will call the pressure points, when the pressure points are taking place, it is affecting employees emotionally. It's affecting their mental state. And that is something that we need to be mindful of. There are not things that you will see without, or you would get to know without a conversation. And that is why it is important that in these times, we are promoting positive emotions within our workplace. And how are we doing that? These are not times when the line manager will decide not to care about the people that they are working with. These are times that we have to act with empathy and compassion. And I want to say that empathy is different from compassion, because with empathy, you don't have to act. You are feeling what the person is feeling. But beyond that, for example, during the cash scarcity, that was a serious pressure point for a lot of people. And we saw organizations that showed care and organizations that showed empathy. I'm sure, for some organizations, we probably have sent out an all-staff email, to say we are aware of the situation, we hope that it would get better, blah, 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 and all that. But there are some organizations that went out of their way to make arrangements with banks to look for cash for their staff. And these are the organizations that the employee would want to stay with in these times. So these are not times that we can decide to just focus on the business without the employee at the heart of things. This calls for a different way of supporting our employees, and a different way that will make them know that this organization cares about me. And this is the only way that we can get that ownership and that discretionary effort from our employees. So promoting positive emotions, showing that you care, investing in relationships, it's really important. So when my colleague was telling me about the fact that all his friends have traveled, one of the things I was thinking of was that from what he said, what I was hearing was frustration. Probably his support system has reduced or crumbled. His network, has also crumbled. If he had a community within the organization, would that have made things different? So it's important that we create organizations that, people can build lasting friendships, lasting relationships in, making work meaningful. People want to enjoy what they are doing, and we need to interact more with our employees to find out how is the work going. Are they enjoying it? Are they finding it fulfilling? And one of the things I've started doing is it's really asking, as part of the onboarding, the people that are joining, why did you take that decision to join the organization? Because I want to understand the motivation. And what I tell them is that whatever it is that made you take that decision, those are things that you need to hold on to, because that becomes your source of strength. When the going gets tough, you can look back at those goals and know that, this is the reason why I took that decision, and hold on to it. So it's important that, people find meaning and purpose in their work, celebrating accomplishments. These are all things that can promote positive emotions within the workplace. And constant communication, it's really the winning strategy. These are times that we need to ask questions. We need to be closer to the employee. I like this quote by Peter Drucker, who says that the leader of the past was a person who knew how to tell. The leader of the future will be a person who knows how to ask. Who knows how to ask. We need to find out, how are you experiencing this? How is it situation going with your family? Because we want to have employees who can bring their best to the workplace every day. Not people who are present. You will see them physically, but their mind is on something else, or they are worried about something else. It is important that for our organizations to thrive, it means that the employee must also be in the right place to increase productivity. Championing work-life integration. That is also one important fact to note in this new world of work, especially for companies who are adopting hybrid or remote working strategies. In the past, we're talking about work-life balance. So it was like, do everything you want to do at work, and then also find time for your other interests, for family, for your social life, for your spiritual life and all that. And then if you realize that you are spending more of the time at work and you're not finding enough time for those other obligations, then it's like it's an imbalance. In this new world of work, we cannot even be talking about a balance anymore. What the reality is calling for is integration. And we saw that during the COVID times. I mean, it was normal to be in a Zoom meeting and then you see a child's face pop up, you know, pop up by someone's. And then, I mean, everybody is, oh, hi, how are you? How are you? You know, it was normal because we understood that, you know, outside the office, a lot of things were possible. So it's important that that flexibility also remains with us, especially for organizations, you know, tech companies and, you know, consulting companies and all that that are looking for, or that have adopted the hybrid or the remote work. I mean, it would be unreal to expect that someone who is working from home, you expect that the person to log in at 8, make sure that you have logged in at 8, and you are not doing anything else, you are not going anywhere, you probably just go and grab a quick tea or whatever, and continue logging in till 5. It is not possible. I mean, during the COVID times, there are times we are in a meeting and someone is preparing a lunch for the family, and it was okay. So we are seeing this work-life integration take place in this new world of work, and we must be able to embrace these things. But we should also be mindful of the fact that there still need to be some boundaries. And therefore, I mean, if you have a boss who has insomnia and sending you a meal at 12 or at 1, you should not be, you should not think that you have to respond immediately. I mean, there has to be those barriers. Those barriers still need to be respected. But the truth is that work and life is actually being harmonized in the new world of work. Shaping a culture of inclusion. That is also very important in this new world of work, to be able to get the best from our employees. We need to be able to make all the voices heard. Everyone bringing their ideas on board. I remember some years back in my previous organization, we had launched e-learning. And of course, it was a breakthrough for HR. We're happy that, you know, we had launched e-learning. After 3 months, when we checked the utilization, we realized that the call center agents were not using it. And we're like, why were the call center agents not using it? So when we delved in, we realized that with their schedule of work, because once they come in for their shifts, they log on, they are receiving calls, and there is no way you can be doing an e-learning in between receiving calls. So they were not using it. The only time that they could use it was probably when they were in their staff bus going home. But then it wasn't enabled to be used on the mobile phone. It was just restricted to the laptop. And then in the call center, they were using desktops anyway, so they could not even use it at all outside the office. So we had to now go back to negotiate with the vendor to get it enabled on mobile phones so that they could also use. But if we had looked at all the segments of our employees and designed with everyone in mind, then we would have achieved inclusion from the very beginning, not wait till at a time when we realized that certain segments were cut off before coming to correct the situation. So it's important that, and of course, that is also design thinking and implementation, ensuring that all the voices are heard. So it's important that we design with the outliners. For a lot of the times, we are concentrating on the head office, and we do everything from the head office. But then we also need within the workplace, because everybody wants to feel part of, and that is where ownership also strives. Cultivating a growth mindset. It's also very important. It's something that we need to inculcate within our organizations. And people need to understand that the times are dynamic, and employees have to be flexible enough to be able to reskill, to be able to upskill, to be able to learn new ways of doing things. As HR people, we also need to lead the way and make our management also understand that things are changing and we cannot keep doing things the old way. So of course, our career development resources are key. Learning management systems, coaching and mentoring programs, all these things are needed to be embedded within the organization. We need to be able to tap into untapped potentials of our people. And how do we do that? By giving them exposures on projects, exposures on different assignments to be able to bring out those untapped potentials. So, to conclude, just as YF said, we need to reinvent with a human focus. The key is to put the employee at the center, and once we do that, our organizations will grow exponentially. And if we don't do that, then we are limiting the ability of our organizations to deliver on their objectives. And unless people get to know you as human, they won't trust you to go through the hard times with you. Thank you very much.
You will agree with me that it's okay to give one more round of applause for that engaging talk and very practical one for that matter. Thank you so much, Hilaria Okolo. Thank you. She made mention of the fact that the trends shaping the new era, we need to keep an eye on that, and to keep fine-tuning your lessons and experiences. The one that caught me the most, he said, leaders of the past is who knows how to tell of the future than the one who knows how to ask. So help me ask your neighbor, how you dey?